Hello there, my name is Mike, also known as Vapian on the electronic cigarette forums, and I'm back with another video for a cartomizer fill method. Just to recap, Bloog had a thread on their forum about a customer of theirs who was blind, who was looking for suggestions for an easy way to fill cartomizers. Well, a few of us have come up with videos, and I came up with one for a fill procedure that in execution doesn't take too long, but it took way too long to explain, in my opinion. As I was watching this several times, I had an epiphany. And epiphanies can really hurt sometimes. But I had it anyway, and came up with a different procedure that takes a slightly different approach using a lot of the same materials. Now, I'll say up front, for someone who is blind or visually impaired, you will probably need to enlist the assistance of someone who is sighted, who can help you with a pair of scissors at some point, but that's purely preparatory. Once they have assisted you with getting that part of the procedure out of the way, everything else you should be able to do yourself with materials that you have on hand. So, let's take a look at it and see how it goes. Now, what I have in front of me here is the standard Bloog or 808 style cartomizer, and I got to thinking that while the method of putting it inside the syringe was maybe kind of nifty, maybe twisted, it wasn't quite as effective and easy as I would like it to be. And I was looking at some of the materials I had, and I had some syringes sitting around, and happened to notice that one of these was a 5 milliliter syringe with a Luer lock tip. This Luer lock tip is basically, the inside of it is the same as a standard syringe. It's got a tip that sticks out a little bit that you might slip a needle onto, but in the Luer lock design there's a wall of material, a cylinder if you will, that's part of the syringe body that surrounds that tip, and it's threaded on the inside so you can screw a needle into that. But what I happened to notice when I compared the size of the syringe tip on the Luer lock design to the Bloog or 808 style cartomizer, they're almost exactly the same diameter. So I thought, what if I could turn this cartomizer into a tip for this Luer lock type syringe? Well, the method that really came to mind was to take one of these rubber caps that comes on the cartomizer and turn it into a tube that I could use to mate the cartomizer and the syringe together. The only unfortunate part of that is that the caps that come on these cartomizers are not very long. They're only about 3/4 of an inch long, which doesn't give you a whole lot of material to use to mate the tip of this Luer lock type syringe to the cartomizer itself. So I started taking a look around and discovered that I had some 510 cartomizers floating around that had some really long rubber caps on them. When I measured it, the longest one on here was about 7/8 of an inch, which is plenty long for what we wanted to do. So this is the part where you might want a sighted friend to help you if you happen to be blind or visually impaired, or a coordinated friend to help you if you happen to be clumsy with a pair of scissors. The basic idea is that you're going to take your scissors, snip a little bit into the rubber tip just below where the sealed end is. The idea is to maintain as much of the length of the tube as possible while opening it up to create an actual tube as opposed to a cap. And what happens is you end up with a flexible rubber tube just shy of an inch long, and being of the 510 type, it's a little smaller in diameter, but not a whole lot. It's just small enough that it creates a very snug fit on the syringe and on the cartomizer itself. And what I did after creating a couple of these tubes is I took the 510 tube that I had made and put a little silicone adhesive at the end of the Luer lock tip of one syringe, slipped the tube onto the syringe, and then used my finger to wipe the excess around to create a bit of a seal between the syringe body and this silicone tube. So this creates a one-piece filling syringe that happens to mate very nicely with a Bloog or 808 style cartomizer. What this effectively does is turns the cartomizer into the tip of the syringe so that you can draw fluids through and push them out through the cartomizer. Now, if you don't have someone who's willing to go ahead and build a one-piece syringe for you, you can just keep the tubes around and manually put them on and take them off as you need to. There's no problem with doing that. You'll just have an extra little piece to keep track of. So I have a work area set up, much like in the previous video, and I will describe everything to you so you have an idea of what I will be working with. I have folded up paper towels on the left and the right about where my hands would sit on the table, so they're easy to find. In between these paper towels, I have a work area containing a syringe, which has the Luer lock tip. It's been modified with some silicone adhesive and the rubber sleeve that was modified from a 510 style cartomizer. So it's a one-piece unit. Next to that I have an empty cartomizer, my bottle of e-liquid, and once again this is a medicine bottle with a child-proof cap that seals very well. It's a couple of inches wide, about 3 inches tall with the cap on. You could use any type of bottle that's close to those, or preferably even a little wider so it's harder to knock over. The main point is that you can't spill it easily. Child-proof is a bonus if you can get there. And the big feature it really needs to have is a mouth that is about as big around as the bottle itself. Just makes it way easier to put liquids in, take liquids out, insert needles and cartomizers as you need to. And the last thing I have is a battery to put the filled cartomizer on, although for the purposes of this demonstration I probably won't actually video that for you. Now, in the event you don't have the pre-manufactured syringe, you can have the syringe with the Luer lock tip and your separate rubber tube, and manually put those together if you need to. To start, I'm going to pick up the syringe, put the tube on if I have to, or if it's pre-made, it's already one piece, it's ready to go. I grab the cartomizer and I'm going to find the tube and insert the cartomizer into the tube mouthpiece down, or the mouthpiece of the cartomizer will go into the tube, and I'm going to push that down just until I feel it go up against the tip of the syringe. You don't want to push too far or you might end up pushing the mouthpiece into the cartomizer. Now this leaves the battery side of the cartomizer as the tip of the needle, as it were, which is handy because it's got slots cut into it for airflow when you're vaping, and these will work for liquid flow while we're filling the cartomizer. I'm going to set the syringe down, firmly grab my bottle, take off the cap and set it outside of my work area, place the bottle into my work area, and while keeping that steady with one hand, I'll pick up the syringe with the other, use my fingers to find the tip of that cartomizer, which is the battery side, find the edge of my bottle, and insert the cartomizer into the bottle and into the e-liquid. Now, if you don't keep your bottle all the way full, maybe halfway full, that's great, because then we're not going to submerge too much of the cartomizer in there, and you won't have as big a mess to clean up later. Now, with the battery into the cartomizer down in that liquid, hold the syringe with one hand, grab the plunger with the other, and pull it up slowly for a count of about maybe 5 or 10 seconds. And what that's going to do is that's going to draw fluid through the cartomizer into the syringe itself. And you want to stop when you hit the limit of the plunger. There's a limit that you'll feel that keeps you from pulling the plunger all the way out. So stop there. And what has happened is we've drawn about 5 milliliters of fluid into this syringe through the cartomizer. Now, still holding onto the syringe, push the plunger down slowly. You want to do it slowly over a count of about 5 or 10 seconds, because if you push faster you will create pressure which can blow the cartomizer out of that tubing at the other end of the syringe. And it's not much fun fishing those things out of the e-liquid. So now I've flushed about 5 milliliters of e-liquid into and back through the cartomizer. If you're really ambitious, go ahead and do it one more time, and that will just make sure that you have thoroughly soaked all of the fill material inside that cartomizer. Once you're done plunging the liquid out, pull the syringe out of the bottle, set it on one of your paper towels, find the lid and screw it back on, and set the bottle outside of your work area because you're done with that. Find your syringe and pick up both the syringe and the paper towel that you set it on. With the paper towel in one hand and the syringe in the other, you can rotate the syringe around while pinching the cartomizer with the paper towel to clean the e-liquid off the outside of the cartomizer. Now with the paper towel, grab the cartomizer, and you might want to run your fingers down the body of the syringe and pinch that tube between your fingers and that Luer lock tip so that it doesn't get pulled off, and pull the syringe off the mouthpiece end of the cartomizer. Now, showing this to the camera, I had a couple of drops came out on the cartomizer, but otherwise there's not a whole lot of liquid inside that tube at the end of the syringe. That's a really good thing. Set the syringe off on your other paper towel, and using the paper towel that you're holding the cartomizer in, go ahead and finish wiping off the outside. Dab the mouthpiece to get any juice out of that. Then you can hold the paper towel in one hand, cartomizer in the other, and give it a couple of quick blow-throughs to get any excess e-liquid out of the cartomizer. So, a few good blows there. That verifies that the cartomizer is nice and full with e-liquid. And we have a cartomizer now that is ready to vape with. So, hopefully I've come up with and demonstrated a method which is even easier and cleaner than the one that I came up with before. And I've been very impressed with the results I've had filling cartomizers using this method today. I appreciate this opportunity to present something to you that might be a little new, might be a little unique, and I hope to see you here on YouTube again later. Take care now.